Saludos, estudiantes! In our last video on el preterito, we took a look at stem-changing verbs, verbs that change their stem in the preterite. And we also discussed how do we deal with verbs that had stem changes in their present tense. In this video, we're going to take a look at a couple other patterns of spelling changes that take place with certain types of verbs. ¿Están listos? The first set of spelling changes that we're going to take a look at are the car, gar, zar verbs. Verbs that end in car, gar, or zar will take a spelling change only in their yo forms in the preterite. For example, tocar, jugar, organizar. If we were to take the regular yo form ending in the preterite tense and add it to tocar, it would change the pronunciation to tose, which loses the whole k of tocar. So to maintain the sounds of these verbs in the yo form in the preterite, we have to make these spelling changes. So you'll have toque, jugué, and organicé. Remember, only the yo form changes with the car, gar, zar verbs. All of the other forms take the regular preterite endings. The second pattern of spelling changes that we're going to take a look at is the jota or j change in verbs like decir and traer, and also verbs that end in usir, like conducir. With decir and conducir, the C is changed to a J, hence the J change, and with traer, a J is added. You'll also notice that these endings aren't the regular preterite endings, they are a little bit different, so you have to know these endings as well. The verbs decir and traer are very common, so make sure you memorize their forms. Let's practice a little even. Repeat and gesture after me. Yo dije, tú dijiste, él, ella, usted dijo, nosotros dijimos, ellos, ustedes dijeron. Muy bien. Me dijiste que necesito memorizar este verbo. The last set of spelling changes that we're going to take a look at is the change that happens to ER and IR verbs whose stem ends in a vowel. To demonstrate this change, let's take a look at the verb leer. Leer is an ER verb. If we took off the ER ending, the stem would end in an E, and that's a vowel. So if we were to put a regular preterite ending on the el, ella, usted form and the ellos, ustedes form, it would be a mess of vowels. So to maintain the natural sound of that verb in the preterite tense, the Y replaces the I in those forms, and a bunch of accents are added in the rest of the forms. Again, to maintain the appropriate sound of that verb and in how that verb would look in the preterite tense. So repeat and gesture after me. Yo leí, tú leíste, él, ella, usted leyó, nosotros leímos, ellos, ustedes leyeron. Muy bien. Now there are quite a few ER and IR verbs whose stems end in a vowel, and they will follow the same, or almost the exact same, pattern as this. For now, make sure that you feel comfortable conjugating and using some of the most common verbs of this pattern. Leer, creer, oír, caer, some of those to name a few. Now let's practice a little bit of all of these changes before we head out. Primero, elige la conjugación correcta del verbo. So first, just choose the correct form of the verb in parentheses. Remember to pause the video if you'd like more time to think before the answer is revealed. Número 1. Ayer me caí en la calle. Yesterday I tripped and I fell in the street. Which form of the verb tropezar is correct? La respuesta, tropecé, con C, with a C, C-E. Número 2. ¿Qué me? What did you tell me? La respuesta, ¿qué me dijiste? Número 3. Mi hermano lavó la ropa y yo la basura. My brother washed the clothes and I took out the trash. La respuesta, mi hermano lavó la ropa y yo saqué la basura. Saqué. Sacar is a car-gar-zar verb, so it's going to have that change in the yo form. Número 4. Yo este libro 3 veces. I read this book 3 times. La respuesta, yo leí este libro 3 veces. Now, you might be thinking, leyó is a correct form. It is the he, she, or you formal form, however. So he, she read would be leyó. Yo leí este libro 3 veces. Número 5. Ellos para mi abuelo. They translated for my grandpa. La respuesta, ellos tradujeron para mi abuelo. Muy bien. En esa próxima práctica vamos a traducir algunas oraciones. So we're going to continue to translate a few sentences. I will give you some vocabulary as needed and pause the video if you need more time to think. Número 1. I arrived home at 3 p.m. Some vocabulary you may need. Llegar is the verb to arrive, and de la tarde is in the afternoon, or in this case, p.m. Yo llegué a casa a las 3 de la tarde. Yo llegué a casa a las 3 de la tarde. Número 2. What did you bring to the party? Some vocabulary you may need. La fiesta, party, and traer, the verb to bring. ¿Qué trajiste a la fiesta? ¿Qué trajiste a la fiesta? Número 3. They did not hear the alarm. Some vocabulary you may need. La alarma, alarm, and oír, to hear. Ellos no oyeron la alarma. Ellos no oyeron la alarma. Excelente. This concludes our whirlwind 4-part series on el pretérito en español. These videos presented you with the basics of when and how we use the past preterite tense in Spanish, how we conjugate regular, irregular, and stem-changing verbs in el pretérito, and also how to recognize and work with some of the other various spelling-changing patterns that happen in the preterite. I know it's a lot, but I promise it will get easier with time and practice. Also, I personally think this is one of the hardest tenses to learn in Spanish because of all of its irregularities. But that means it's all downhill from here. ¿A que no? Cuídense, nos vemos.